Welcome to the HIKI No tutorial series. Shooting a sequence.
Too often we see B-roll sequences in HIKI No stories that appear to be nothing more than random shots strung together without any meaningful relationship to one another. It often seems like the purpose of the B-roll is just to cover the interview with random visuals. What a B-roll sequence should do is tell a visual story through shots and the relationship between those shots. This tutorial will show you how to do just that. Our sample visual story will be that of an artist in a life painting class and the teacher who is watching the artist work. The first thing we want to shoot is an establishing wide shot of the class. This will show all of the elements of our story and their spatial relationships to one another. Here is our featured artist. She is looking screen right at the model. Here is the teacher, who is behind the artist. After shooting the establishing shot, we need to isolate each element of our story into its own separate shot. Before we do that, let's figure out the specific actions in our story, making sure to include all of the elements involved. An artist paints in a class with other artists. She looks at a model with her eyes. She paints her depiction of the model onto a wood board, with her right hand holding the brush. The teacher stands behind the artist. The teacher looks at the painting to see the artist's work in progress. Now that we've established all of the elements in our story, let's go ahead and shoot separate, isolated shots of each element. The camera person can shoot the elements in the order that is most convenient for him. The editor will put the elements together in proper story order later on. So let's shoot the artist. When we shoot a person, in most cases we want to show his or her face. So let's put the camera in a position that shows the artist's face. In keeping with the spatial relationship we established in the wide shot, let's place the camera in such a way that the artist is looking to the right when she looks at the model. Let's keep rolling on this shot until we've gotten a few cycles of different looks from the artist, looking to the right at the model, then looking down at her painting. We don't want to see anything else in this shot, just the artist, and we want to stay fixed on her, not zooming in and out or panning the camera. The artist's eyes, what she sees the model and her painting with, is another story element. So let's frame a shot of just her eyes. To keep the screen direction of her gaze consistent, the camera should be situated so that the artist's look at the model is still in the camera right direction. As with the previous shot of the artist, let's keep rolling on this shot until we get a few cycles of looks. To the right at the model, and down at the painting. Now let's work on getting shots of the next element, the teacher. Because the wide establishing shot included a lot of elements besides the teacher and the artist, let's shoot a two-shot of the teacher and the artist to re-establish their spatial relationship. The teacher is standing behind the artist. When she looks at the artist's painting, she looks down and to the right. When she looks at the model, she looks up and to the right. As in other shots, let's roll long enough on this to make sure we record a few of the teacher's look cycles from the painting to the model and back to the painting. Now let's isolate the element of the teacher. In other words, let's shoot a close-up of her, isolating her from everything else. Let's make sure that we position the camera in such a way that her spatial relationships to the artist's painting and the model remain consistent. The next element we want to isolate is the artist's painting. As you may have noticed, the painting has been oriented to the right of the artist in the previous shots. So let's stay consistent and situate the camera so that the painting stays on the right of the artist. Then let's zoom in to set our framing so that we see nothing but the painting and the artist's hands. We are isolating those elements. This is the shot you'll want to shoot the most footage of, because to tell our story, we'll want to see the progress the artist is making on her painting over a period of time. You could probably shoot the painting for a few minutes, move to another angle to shoot other shots, then move back to the painting to see it further along. We did mention the artist's brush as another element in the story, so let's isolate that element as well. To isolate the brush from the painting, we'll have to make a fairly extreme angle change, more of a profile of the brush so that we don't see the painting. We're isolating it from all other elements. Even though this is an extreme angle change, you'll notice that the spatial relationship between the artist and the painting remains the same. The artist's brush is oriented to the left, and the painting is to the right. Our final element to shoot is the model. Let's isolate him, in other words, frame the shot so we only see him, but let's also make sure that his spatial orientation to the artist remains consistent with the other shots. He should be oriented to the right, facing left towards the artist. In fact, let's give him a little more look room on the left to suggest the spatial distance between him and the artist. Although he's not really doing anything, let's make sure we roll enough footage on him. I'd say at least a minute. Now that we have all of our story elements separated into isolated shots, let's see how they cut together to tell a visual story. What you'll notice when you design a B-roll sequence in this way is that each shot will motivate the cut to the next shot, and the interaction or interchange between these elements will tell your story. Here we have the wide establishing shot. Cut to the two-shot of the artist and her teacher to establish their relationship. Cut to a close-up of the artist. She looks up. Cut to what she is looking at, the model. Cut to a close-up of the artist's eyes looking up at the model. She looks down. Cut to what she is looking at, the painting. She paints. Cut to the teacher looking up at the model. She looks down. Cut to what she is looking at, the artist's painting in progress. Cut to the artist. She looks up from her painting to the model and continues to look at him. Cut to the model. Cut to the close-up of the artist's eyes. Cut to what the model is motivating the artist to do, paint. This time we just see the brush moving. Cut to the teacher looking down with approval. Cut to what has caused her approval, the artist's painting showing great progress. Remember that in shooting all of these shots, we made sure to maintain the same spatial and directional relationships between the elements. The model was always to the right of the artist. The model was always facing left towards the artist. The artist was always facing right, looking up and to the right at the model. When we maintain these spatial and directional relationships, the viewer always knows where things are and who is looking at whom. Now let's see how effective our properly edited action sequence is as B-roll for covering an interview. Here is an uncovered interview sequence with our artist.
At 62, I started to paint, and I loved it. I would encourage anyone to come and join because it's a lot of fun, and nobody criticizes you. Nobody thinks you're so bad. I don't plan. Most people plan. Most people measure. To me, that's too much work. I just go and paint, and that's it. You can do whatever you want to. You can express yourself. It's a fun class.
Now, here's the interview using our edited action sequence as B-roll.
At 62, I started to paint, and I loved it. I would encourage anyone to come and join because it's a lot of fun, and nobody criticizes you. Nobody thinks you're so bad. I don't plan. Most people plan. Most people measure. To me, that's too much work. I just go and paint, and that's it. You can do whatever you want to. You can express yourself. It's a fun class.
Thanks for watching this HIKI no tutorial. Please check out the other tutorials for more help.